watching Mission News, and I want to, in this broadcast, explore a few of the babies we see out there in our society, our population, whatever you want to call it, that makes up the grand old United States of America. So, these are some of the first people we meet. If I would title this show, if I had a title for this broadcast, I would call it Babies. And that's what we're going to be talking about, babies. Some of the babies we meet out there in society, or in our population, or in our nation, or in our race, are babies of murder. I worked with a little child once, and he said he saw his dad kill his mom. Now, this little child had to go out there in society, and we, as a people, have to deal with this person who saw, in this example, his mother being killed by his father. So this is a baby that I would say of murder. This baby goes out in society after witnessing this murder, and he's got to live day, or she got to live day by day with that mental picture. So this will be part of our society, a part of our population, a part of our nation, a part of our race. This type person makes up that population. Now, who has to deal with it? All of us. All of us as a people, as a nation. We got to deal with that particular type of person. We can't just burst it off and say, oh, you didn't witness, in the example I gave you, you didn't witness your father killing your mother. We can't just pan it off like that. No, we got to deal with this person, with this individual problem. And this individual person, this individual baby, makes up our society. I hope you're with me so far. And there are a lot of babies out there that has witnessed some type or some form of murder. And they have to deal with that. So, going back to what I was saying initially, I was working with this little child, and he saw his father kill his mother. He had nightmares, just tormented in his mind at night when he laid down. I couldn't just say, oh, you can't have a nightmare. Oh, just forget it. It didn't happen. When this child got this mental picture in his head of his father taking this gun and killing his mother. It's a heavy thought. And it's a heavy thought for a person to deal with and be able to function daily in what we would call a normal society. So that's one type of baby that will make up our society. I hope you're with me so far. We're talking about and exploring the type people that make up our nation, our population, our society. We need to know who's out there, who's making up this society that we live in. Well, that's one type person that makes it up. We can't just shoo them away. We just can't say, oh, no, you did not witness a murder of your loved one. And in this case, this child witnessed his mother being killed. We just can't say, oh, forget it. Let bygones be bygones. No, it doesn't work that way. We have to have wisdom to know how to work with these type people. Now we're going to look at another baby that's out there that, again, when you see a situation like that, that person goes out there in society and make up our society. We don't want to lose the gist of this program. We're talking about who is making up this population that we go in daily. We go out into daily. Who are we meeting? We meeting all of these type people. We meeting these people who have had rape cases, been involved in rape. We got to deal with those people. We just can't say, oh, just forget it. Like I said before, put it on the back burner. No. You got to be sensitive to their needs. You got to hear their cry. I think think the scripture comes to mind. It says if the woman yells when a man is taken by force, hopefully she can get some help, and it'll take that clown off of her, so to speak. So here we got a woman raped, baby conceived, and the man comes back and says, oh, I'm going to take the baby. We're going to say some more about that later. Now we're going to talk about sick babies. And I know this is going to be kind of a mind-boggling baby, a part of our society that a lot of people want to turn their back on. But it's out there. Sick babies. Some babies are just born sick. They're just sick. Just had a call from Danville, Illinois, and my friends was telling me that this little 2.5-year-old baby just died. The baby was sick. The baby just died. So some babies are just born sick. Now all those sick babies don't die. So the sick babies sometimes go out in our society and they live. And all of their life they live sickly. They're just sickly. This comes to mind. I'm sharing some experiences, my personal experiences with you in this broadcast because I want to make my thoughts clear of who we are meeting when we go out there in society. We got to know who we're meeting and who's making up our population. I remember this lady, and she was sickly, and her brother would tell the kids from high school to come down and look at his sick sister, and they would give him, I think, 50 cents, a dollar, whatever, because she would just slob all over herself, and we don't like the word deformed, but she was just really messed up. And because of her physical condition, he would have his friends to come by after school and look at her, and they would pay him to look at her. Well, in that particular situation, and in that particular case, which I'm a little aware of, that particular lady, physical being, straightened up, she's standing tall, she's in her sound mind, and she's going on about her business. But all sickly people don't recover like that. But she did. And that brother should have been ashamed of himself. He made money off his sister because he called his sister a freak and made money from his friends who came in to see his sister freak, so to speak. So the point being that some of our babies are born sickly, and all of their life they live a sick life. They just sickly from the head to the toe. And we have to deal with them. We have to be sensitive to the needs. And that flows over into a church sis. And I know this is like going in left field, but I'm going to throw this in here. Some churches are just sick. They're just sick. I think that there's a scripture that says the whole body is just sick. The church is sick. Use the word sick. Talking about the whole congregation of a church, sick. And sometimes I look at the Catholic Church, I'm saying that's a sick. And I'm not talking about all of them, but I'm just talking about the sick. One young man was saying DNA, it's just in their DNA for the priest to molest the little boys. That's a sick person to do such a thing and bring the whole church down as a whole because of your sickness in your mind. It's all in the mind. Years and years and years, year after year after year, you see the priests molesting little boys. And no wonder the guy on TV says it's in their DNA. But I rather say it this way. You're sick. You're just sick in your mind. So the point being here with this particular baby is that some babies are born sick and they're out there in society and they just sickly all of their whole life on earth. They're sick somewhere from head to toe. There's something always sick about them. And when we see people like that, we have to deal with those people and be sensitive to their needs. We're going to look at another baby that helps make up our society, our nation, our population, whatever you want to call it. And that's the transgender people. Now, God made man, male and female. He reached down on the dirt, the ground, got some dirt up, formed man, blew the breath of life in it, and brought a man forth. Now, the transgender people have said that they don't know if they're male or female. God made male or female. He made male and female, rather. Now, if this generation of people said they're male one day, female the next day, however the thing goes, I look at it this way. If you want to create a being other than what the Lord has already created, and we know what the Lord God, who is the creator of all, we know what He made. He made male, He made female. So I said to that population of people, transgender people, if you want to be a male, and you don't want to be a male, you want to be a female, you don't want to be a female, you want to be a male, my suggestion to you is you reach down on the dirt, on the ground, get some dirt, form it together, blow the breath of air in it, and create your being. Otherwise, you're meddling with God, because the body you live in is the body God made from the dirt. He reached on the ground, He got the dirt, He formed it into male and female, and breathed breath into it. So if you're so wise, and you think you're wiser than God, that you can create male or female, then my suggestion to you is you reach down on the dirt, on the ground, get the dirt, pull it up, form male, form female, and blow the breath of air in it, and then you can go on about your business. And you don't have to use the male and female that the Lord created. Because when I said male, female, I'm talking about the beings that the Lord created. And again, if you're so wise, you want to be male one day, female the next day, I think you ought to reach on the ground, get some dirt, bring it up, form it into whatever you want to form it in. That's what I have to say about these transgenders. God made male and female. We don't want to meddle with God. We just don't want to do that. Because David said in so many words, we don't want to fall in the hands of an angry God. All these sexual dilemmas, just dirty sexual habits, God's wrath is going to come down on it. Just like He did in Sodom and Gomorrah. And I don't want to go into the story talking about that, but we know what happened to them. So that's some more people that help make up our society. Now we're talking about another group of babies that help make up our society, which is the abortion. Sometimes the woman wants to abort a baby, and the abortion is botched, so to speak, and the child comes out all messed up, and then that child has to go into society, in our nation, and we have to deal with it. We have to be sensitive to that child's need, because the abortion was messed up. So in some back room or whatever, try to get an abortion, try to abort the baby, and then fully complete the abortion, and that child still lives. That child is out in society, and then we have to live with that baby. That's another part of our population, and we have to be sensitive and live with those people. Somebody asked me once, said, Sister Lyle, do you believe in abortion? What are your thoughts on abortion? Just threw both of those questions out to me. I said, I'm not confused on abortion. Not at all. When you abort a baby, I think there's legit reasons that this is a woman's right, that you can abort a baby. And the only two reasons I would tell anybody that I believe in and I will say this until the Lord give me better wisdom. I believe in the case of incest, that baby should not live. Abort that baby. If your dad or your brother or your cousin, your uncle, whatever, take you by force and have sexual relationship with you and you bring forth the baby, I think that baby should be aborted. And in the case of rape, I told you I'd get back to it. In the case of rape, I think that baby should be aborted. Those are the only two exceptions that I believe a baby should be aborted. Any other reason that you can conjure up that a baby should be aborted, I do not agree with it. I only have those two reasons in my mind's eye that a baby should be aborted. Through incest or rape. Now, if you got greater wisdom, then you just use your greater wisdom, because that's the stand I make on abortion. I don't think the Lord want the woman to have to carry a child by her own father or her own brother or uncle, whatever. Then somebody said, well, remember the story of Lot in the Bible where the two sisters went in and had baby? We know that story. But also the Bible tells us that every man should have his own wife. So it didn't tell you to keep having sex with your dad. And that was done for a special reason back in those days. But that's not the case today. So I don't use it as an excuse to say that the dad should be having sex with his daughter. Daughter should be having sex with the brother or the uncle or whatever, grandfather, whatever. That is just a lot of crazy sexual drama. So abortion, yes, I believe that, again, to repeat it, to make it crystal clear, I believe that if there's a case of incest, that baby should be aborted. In the case of rape, when you've been taken by force against your will, that baby should be aborted. Now, all of that goes out into our society, help make up our society. And we just talked about incest. Incest is bloodline. You're dealing with the bloodline. And it's just terrible that that bloodline is so close. Some people will say it this way. They say if the person is a baby come forth out of incest, said most of them are has mental dilemmas. They're mentally challenged, however you want to say it. And I know a few that just might fit that little saying. They're mentally challenged, because I know this one family down through my life that I met, and the two children were ancestral babies, and they were mentally challenged. So that's just one case out of many more that might be out there. But in that case, the little saying did pan out that they were mentally challenged. So again, I'm thinking that that's bloodline that the Lord has told us against, declared against. He says an abomination. So you shouldn't do that. But these are people that's out there in society that we have to deal with. Now we're looking at two more, and then we're going to close our thoughts. And I'm hoping that you stay with me. Again, we're talking about babies that go out into society, that we have to, and become adults, that we have to deal with their concerns in life in a sensitive manner. Surrogate mothers. There was a lady that come to my house, and she said to me, she and her sister had a hard time trying to have a baby. So finally she gets pregnant, and she says both of them married, and she said to her husband, after all this many years and after all this trying, we finally having a baby. But my sister has come to me and said, well, I have a baby for her. And she wanted to know if I thought that was a good thing to do. And I said, don't ask me that question if you don't want my answer, because I'm going to give you what's in my heart. So I said to her, if you have this baby for your sister, your brother-in-law's sperm is going to be injected into you, and you're going to have this baby for your sister. I said, that is an abomination to God. And no, I do not agree. I do not think that you should do that. I said, now you asked me the question, I gave you the answer. Now, along with that, I'm thinking about Hannah. Every woman, even though the Bible said, go forth and multiply, Every woman is not to have babies. They're not built to have babies. They're not made to have babies. They're not created to have babies. And somebody said, wait a minute, you're female. They're not created to have babies. And when you see this surrogate mother plan, well, this one, we put the sperms in, freeze them in the eggs and all this stuff out there, that's man overriding God. That's man trying to play God. If a woman's womb is closed, we have an example in the Bible, many, many examples, but just Hannah comes to mind. You get on your knees and you pray and ask the Lord to open up your womb so you can have a baby. It's just as simple as that, because God is the life giver. We just talked about that. God is the life giver. And if he wants you to have a baby, he will open that womb so you can have a baby. You should not go above God and think you're going to get by with it, because Judgment Day is coming. And have these babies that man, this again, this M-A-N, man's doing. This is another way he exploits the woman body. He's got conjured all the stuff up in his mind trying to outdo God. And got all these silly women who's done bought into his plan. This one lady going in that field said, I think she's from Asia, she said something about she paid her child's tuition to college because she had had babies for certain white males here in the United States. That's an abomination to God. And you're going to use your body to bring forth another person's baby. It's an abomination to God. God is not pleased with that. Because if you want a baby, again, get on your knees, ask the Lord to open your womb, and you'll have the baby. And if he doesn't open your womb, that means you do not have the baby. Just as simple as that. This one lady had told me, she said that if she had a baby, she would eat it. And I thought to myself, that's just scripture. It's nothing new, nothing to raise your eyebrows for, because that's what they did in the Bible time. They boiled the babies and they ate them. So it's nothing new there. And again, that's maybe one reason why some women don't have babies. They might turn around and they might eat them. Eat them, so we never know. We don't know the mind of God. We don't know why he says this woman you can have a baby, this woman you can have another one. But we do know that God is sensitive to our needs. And he's proved that in the life of Hannah and many other women in the Bible. If you ask him and get on your knees and sincerely pray to him and ask him to let you have a baby with your husband, he will do just that, because he will give you the desires of your heart. And the last one is adoption. This is a very, very popular program that we see. And only God knows I detest it. But at any rate, these are kids that go out into society that we have to deal with. I'm just sharing this with you. My nephew wife searched for over 30-some years for her parents. Now, the parents who adopted her knew where her real parents were, but they didn't tell her. But this child searched diligently for her parents. And when she did find them in California, they'd taken on an ocean cruise, and she just loving her natural parents. They didn't know what happened to the child. And all this many years, she's out there in our society, making up our population, making up our nation, worrying about where are her parents at. And then when it all comes down the pipe, so to speak, she found her parents, and she's just as happy as she can be. So what I'm saying here, according to this baby goes out here to make up our society, these people are hurting, they feel guilty, and all this stuff is a burden on them. But they're in society, and we have to deal with them. Now, some parents that don't adopt the kids, it don't work out like it was with my nephew. They do not find their parents. But in her case, she was able to find her parents. And she was happy that she was able to do that. But in the meantime, she was out there in society, along with many, many, many others, searching every day, looking for her parents. Now, when you run into people like that in society, you got to be sensitive to their needs. So this wraps up our thoughts tonight. There's many, many more different types of people in our society that makes up our society, rather, that I did not discuss tonight, but I just went over these 10 different ones that hopefully you would get a thought from. And just to recap, we talked about babies from murder, and we find so many kids today, they just killing each other. where are these kids coming from that just want to kill each other? Not only do the child see someone getting killed, they got to live with it. I'm just throwing this in here before I close. But we got little children now picking up guns, killing each other. And we got to deal with those kids out there in our society who actually are murderers. So to recap, we talked about babies from murders. We talked about stillborn babies. We talked about babies from rape, cocaine or sick babies, drug babies, transgender babies. We talked about abortion. We talked about incest. We talked about the surrogate mother. And lastly, we talked about adoption. So, again, final thought. When you go out your front door or your back door or whatever, and you meet all these people that makes up our society, makes up our population, makes up our generation, you have to know that they all come from different walks of life, and you have to be sensitive to their needs to be able to have a little experience of what they have experienced in life, to be able to get along with them so that we can even have a better and a greater life together.